There are two different things I want to demo today of this very early version of Adept. First is the command line interface. This is intended for people that want to debug and manipulate Adept on their own. I have also created a plugin for Adept in SPT013. Using Adept through your build system is what I think will be the most common way to use it. You can read on the README at the project on GitHub here, freak/adept, to see how to get set up and try this out on your own. To get started, let us first see what we can do with the command line interface. Run Adept, and I see that I get a list of commands I can run. The first one to notice is the Adept init. This initializes an Adept repository. So let me try that. Alright, so now I have an Adept repository initialized. And the next thing I can do is to set a module. This basically adds or updates a module to Adept. There are two ways to do this, either manually by using set here, or I can do Ivy set, which uses Ivy to put a dependency into Adept. Adding modules like this, again, this is typically part of the workflow to publish a module, and it will therefore not be used by the majority of the users. I can also use my own Ivy settings if I wanted to use those when I'm using the Ivy set command. So if I run Ivy set here, I see I get I'm missing the arguments, so I'm missing the coordinates, and I can also set the path to my Ivy settings. So I'm going to do, if I do adept Ivy set and -s, I can use some settings. So I have some settings here because I want to add the play repository or play module to my repository. And this module is located in the type-safe repository, so I need to use these settings to add them. So let me try to do that. Then I enter the coordinates of play, which look like this. Alright, so it's reading stuff from Ivy, and then it's going to add it to Adept. Just like Git, we have now staged a module. To make it available, we can commit it. This will verify that the module and its dependencies are available for this repository. So I write adept commit, and it will give me back the hash of the version of Adept that I'm now running on. If you want to display what I have added now, I can do Adept dependencies and see that I have play there. Alright, so that's play and all of its dependencies. Okay, so next thing you can do is to start up serving a repository. So I'm just going to do adept server, and now I have started my server. Alright, so now we have a repository can use. Let us use how I can. Let us see how I think SPT integration will look like. Using the Adept SPT plugin, you can define your dependencies almost like usual, except that we will use the Adept dependencies instead of the library dependencies. So if we look in the build file here, so here I have my SPT project, and then if I look in the build file, I see I have defined Adept dependencies, which has the play dependencies that I just added. Since this is the first time I'm using Adept, I will have to clone the repository that I created earlier. In the future, this will be a command that you can execute from within SPT. So let's just clean that, and then run adept clone, like so, from localhost now. And this now clone the repository, so I have the same version that I had before. So if I do adept dependencies play underscore 10.0 to 10.1, you should see all the dependencies here that are in my cloned repository. As we go along, my plan is to have the entire Maven Central available as an Adept repository. Adept uses a database and compresses data so that 50,000 random modules takes about 9 megabytes. Although it's early to say, I think that this should make it possible to clone an Adept repository even if it has all the data from Maven Central in a reasonably short amount of time. My plan is also to have one local repository stored for the user when using SPT. This makes it possible to reuse more of the data and make it quicker. Since Adept is hash-based, it will still be very reliable. So I'm planning on adding it, like, say, under here. This is a fresh repository and it does not have any artifacts in it. So I'm just going to start up SPT in it and see what we're going to do. So when I hit compile now, what we want to happen is that it downloads all of the artifacts it does not yet have. And this is actually what is going to happen as well when I hit compile. It's going to look in the dependencies and it's going to figure out what it needs. Then it's going to start downloading the dependencies. So now it has found all the dependencies, and then as you can see it's downloading it. Notice that there's no resolution phase because there's no resolution needed. All of the metadata is directly available for SPT. And we are also downloading almost like 25 megs of data pretty quickly. And this is because we're downloading all of the dependencies in one go. So now my compile finished, and if I hit it again, of course it won't load all the dependencies again because it already has it. Okay, so we can also have a look at the class path to see that there's actually something there. So if I do show full class path, I see that I have all my jars here from my dependencies. You can also notice that there's a file here which is called dependencies adept. If you look in the head of it, you see it contains the repositories of the repositories and the last commit that it needs. There are two reasons to have this file. First, it makes it possible to make sure that the user has the right version of all the repositories. If you have a version which is older than the required plugin, the plugin will pull the latest version for you. If you do not have Adept at all, it will clone the repositories which are listed. There will be a possibility for a build server to check which dependencies they are in this file as well. If any of them have changed, and you can also use this file directly to build this project. This again makes your builds more reliable. If we can check how this works. If I remove the /adept file now, I remove all the artifacts that I just downloaded. Okay, now that I have removed that, we are at the state which a freshly checked out project would be. So if I start up SPT again now and run compile again, like this, you will see it will actually clone the repository because I just removed it, and start downloading the artifacts again, like this. So now it's cloned it, and then it starts downloading the repository, the artifacts as fast as it can. So notice that these artifacts, they are actually not downloaded from the local repository itself. It's downloaded from the IV central repository. So when I added the IV coordinates into Adept, I didn't add the actual artifacts as well. I'm planning on having this as an option so that you can serve both the artifacts on your own and have IV hosting for you as well. So that concludes my demo. I'm sure there's lots of things that needs to be addressed still, but I think we have a good basis now to continue work, and that replacing the current DMSs which we have will be something that we can foresee in the not so distant future, giving us more time to spend on our projects and less time to think about how they are built. Thank you for your time.